So in the future I will have some other comparisons with a 13.5 motor. Right now this is a 13.5 Trinity Xfactor motor, but this motor ended up wetting the bed at the end of the test run. So I'm not really going to compare these or pretend this is apples to apples because I'm not sure at what point the motor was failing, but notice that jump, I was struggling to make that jump really from the start. And then eventually I had to compensate, try to go wide to try to carry more speed because I just wasn't getting the acceleration. Now I've driven this Trinity, I think I've done 6 or 8 races with it, but the rotor gave out, and the best times that I got with this Trinity here before it fully gave out were in the low to mid 22s. That was a 22.9, which was an alright run, but here, look at how I will struggle just to make that jump. So if I come right here, actually that one was really smooth. So here it's still working. This is going to be a in the mid 22s. So 22.6. So 22.6 is a time that I'm going to keep, and the reason why is because I made that jump. So later on here in this video there's going to be some footage where I'm going to show you how I start struggling making those jumps. That's where I think the rotor gave out. So what ended up happening is the magnet, that's a 22.8, the magnet became detached from the actual rotating shaft. Here we go, so you see barely, I have to full throttle it, and I have no choice. I either do that or I don't make it because I keep bucking that little crest. And I keep looking through all my footage. I thought I had gotten a 22.4 with this motor, but I could be wrong. Maybe it was that 22.6 that was the best run. And that was the best run before I could no longer make that jump. So I believe this is where that rotor started going out. So if this happens to you, you make every jump and then all of a sudden the vehicle is struggling, check the battery, check the motor. It could be that. But now let's switch over to the Hobbywing G4. Now the Hobbywing G4 was an impressive motor. It runs very, very cool, and I know I'm saying very, very cool, but when I show you the temperature at the end, you're going to see it's a lot hotter, but there's a reason why. So I was not very careful, and one of the fan wires ended up catching between the mesh of the gears, so the gears actually tore one of the wires. So I am running an entire pack without a fan, probably from the start, and didn't realize it. Now I'm not really worried about it because Hobbywing guarantees that these rotors can handle up to they say 200 degrees Fahrenheit before they lose magnetism. I mean, it's some crazy stats that they have for these motors, so on paper they are amazing. So I figured I'd get one, try it out, and it's so easy for me to make the jumps with this motor. I mean, this motor is 6 months newer than the other one, but still, that's not really the point. By the time this video is released, to be honest, I've had this footage for a while. I just kept putting it off due to other videos, but I finally got some time to put it together, and looking back at it, yeah, that Hobbywing's very smooth. This Hobbywing right now is actually in my drag car. So that was a 21.7. So that's almost a whole second faster. Usually swapping out a motor is not going to make a second difference. So what I honestly think is going on is I understand 0.2, maybe 0.3 of a second, but I think the other motor was on its way out, to be honest. This is the Xfactor, so temperature readings with a working fan. This is a 116, 126, depending on where I beam it, so about 52 Celsius, 133, say 44, depending on where I beam it. So you can see the temperature here. Both of these motors were set at the precise amperage from each other. So this is the Xfactor, see 5.4 amps, and this is the Hobbywing 5.4. This is before running them. Now the Hobbywing does have more kV, but I don't think it's more kV to make a second difference. Now they both have the same exact gearing, and look at the temperature. So this one did exceed 200 degrees, but that's with a fan not working. And like I said, this motor I put in my drag car, I mean, this thing still pulls like you wouldn't believe. So I don't expect any damage. There was no burnt smelt or anything, which I was pretty impressed. So after this, I fixed the fan and just kept doing runs, and it ran just as it ran when I first started running the motor. But obviously a lot cooler. So that being said, I did want to show this just to let you know that I did overheat the motor, but it still ran. So these are some of Hobbywing's claims. So let's see, here we go. 200 degrees Celsius temperature resistant wire. This is an insane amount. This is probably over 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Here, temperature resistant explosion proof rotor, 180 degrees Celsius. This is over 300 degrees. This is probably close to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Maybe about 360. I would have to run it in the converter. But they do talk about dissipating heat. I mean, these are very bold claims if you go to the website, but they might be true. Simply because, like I said, you saw the temperature really high, and I did not notice a difference on the second pack. Yes, I let the motor cool, reconnected the fan wires, and it ran as smooth as it first started running. So that being said, is the Hobbywing better than the Xfactor? To be honest, because my Xfactor wet the bed, I really cannot guarantee that it's that much quicker. Usually motors do not have a whole second, so more than likely my Xfactor was already on its way out and I didn't notice it until later on. Reliability wise, I have had a few Trinity rotors go out. As of now, I've been running the G4 in my touring car, and I have not had a single issue with them, to be honest. I actually really do like the Hobbywing in my touring car. Whereas my touring car, that's where I blew one of the rotors that became detached, and then the other one was in the short course. So it's not just because of the weight of the short course, it happened in my touring car as well. So is the Hobbywing a very good motor? Yes, I do like the Hobbywing. I like the machining, everything on it. Do watch my video on the analyzer specs if you're interested. That being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was entertaining, informative more than anything, but if not, at least entertaining. Please subscribe if you have not, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Oh, my hair! My arm! My rod!